They say that when you educate a man, you educate a person. But when you educate a woman, you educate a family, you educate a society and a nation. We at Vishwadharma have been believing in this tenet for a long time, and for years we have a lot of successful graduates from all our campuses. I am very happy and pleased that today in this special episode of the Learning Curve, we have Smita Nene, who is a director at PTC, and Mrunmayi Oke, who is the vice president at Dunzo. Welcome to TLC, ladies. And wishing you both a very happy Women's Day.
Thank you, Bharat.
Thank you, Bharat.
Let's start with your professional journey. You both are pass outs of VIT Pune. How has been your career after that? We'll start with you, Smita.
You know, the day I landed in VIT, I actually started grooming myself to become an engineer. This is my alma mater, and this is where I truly became an engineer. At that time, we were very few girls
I'm sure.
who took admission into engineering course, core engineering courses. Just one student in mechanical engineering, 2 in instrumentation, and electronics department was relatively heavily loaded with female students. Then after graduation, I worked at Telco, Tata Motors, for 1 year as
Okay, that was another male-dominated area.
Absolutely, completely male-dominated area. Then I studied for my post-graduation during that 1 year, and I got into ISC Bangalore.
Wow.
That was my dream,
Wow.
which
Awesome.
came true. And funnily enough, I was the only female student in the class of 20
Again.
students. Then I got married and moved back to Pune, and I joined PTC. This is a CAD company. Our flagship product is a CAD product. Again, heavily male dominated, and the journey has been great, very enriching, very
How
satisfying.
many years
so far.
now at PTC?
More than 23 years now
Wow.
with PTC. Very loyal employee of PTC, I would say. And now I am the director of engineering. I am into research and development. I am the only female director in the entire Pune geography.
Wow.
I don't know whether I should be happy or proud.
No, we are super
but
proud,
I think
Smita, and I am very sure many of our male engineers who study through ProE, I know how it's called Trio.
Earlier it was Pro Engineer,
Now
now it is rebranded to Creo.
Trio. So many of our male engineers who study Trio and work Trio don't know that this product is developed by a female director and not by male counterparts.
Yeah.
So inspiring and so nice to hear about you. Mrunmayi, know about your professional journey.
Absolutely, that was a great story, and thank you so much for having me here, Bharat. This conversation reminisces a lot of good memories. I graduated out of VIT 2008. I actually moved to India somewhere in 2002 to study, and I was studying abroad I was studying in Nigeria in a small Indian school, big fish, small pond, doing well. Then I came to India, and this was where I actually figured out how to make friends, how to actually got a lot of life lessons from what I wanted to do, right? I started off with instrumentation, had a branch change and moved to electronics, a heavily loaded, heavily loaded branch. But from then on, I think somewhere in my second and third year, I was extremely involved in all the cultural and the technology fests, be it the social activity campaign, be it, all of the PORs happening in college. Somewhere I realized that while I'm good at what I do from an academics and an engineering perspective, somewhere my calling lies in moving towards a business and a management role. At that point of time, ZS Associates as an organization came to India, and analytics was one of their biggest forte. I graduated and joined them. I worked there for 3 years in a pharmaceutical consulting sort of a role. While I enjoyed it, somewhere wanted to be involved in the midst of making impact, making change, and I started preparing for my CAT exams for MBA. I then joined IIM Ahmedabad in 2011. For 2 years I did that. Then I went on to join the global leadership program of Aditya Birla Group. Started off with a global marketing role in Carbon Black. Moved on to retail, did a lot of category management across food, non-food, really started understanding what driving and owning P&L means, what actually creating business impact means, and how it all comes together. That was also when I decided that I'm probably good at structured roles. Went on to do Pantaloons, that was setting up their ecosystem on technology as well as e-commerce. After 8 years at ABG, I think somewhere I realized that I was getting comfortable. And I actually go back and always describe my learning as very high leverage for learning. That is the only thing I still continue to index on. And I felt like somewhere at ABG I had learned or I had done what I could, and everything now was going to become incremental and not as much exponential what I did. So I said, let me just go take a plunge, see what happens in the startup ecosystem, and I moved on to Dunzo 2.5 years ago. Actually helping build something from scratch, launching in 8 cities, creating a team that grew from 100 to 2,500 over 12 months. So it's been an amazing journey. And I'm still looking forward to the rest of it.
Both of you have been into what was considered as traditionally male-dominated domains. So what were your early years like? Smita, once again, we'll start with you.
So I think I was fortunate enough when I joined PTC, my immediate manager, she was a female, her name is Geet Lekha. So it was very easy for me to, gel into that. But generally, this is our culture that female at a higher role or female at an equivalent role is not looked upon,
It's not acceptable.
It's not acceptable to the same level as a male counterpart. So it is difficult to prove yourself that you have this caliber. You are also an engineer. You are at par, as far as your education or your background is considered, and then build your own brand. As a managerial person or as an engineer. It's a challenge because there are still unconscious biases when you are hiring somebody or when you are promoting somebody or when you are assigning somebody some work. There are always gender biases.
Right.
You don't do it consciously. It is unconscious because you have been groomed that way. But yeah, this is a fact that you really have to prove yourself, especially when you are a female. In a traditionally heavily male-dominated industry. And it is changing. We are being, slowly trained by our human resource department, how to get rid of those unconscious biases. But yeah, it is a slow process, but it is going in a positive direction.
Wow. Mrunmayi, some story from you?
Yeah, so when I joined Carbon Black, Carbon Black was heavily manufacturing, right? Like plants full of people, a lot of people working on the shop floor, most likely no women, or if there are any, there would be very specific to some sort of admin work, etc. But when I went to build a brand for Birla Carbon, all the regional heads and the regional marketing heads were all males, right? And really, really senior. So I had a double whammy, right? So I'm not only a woman, I'm also a kid who has absolutely no idea about Carbon Black. So now I have to go build a brand for an entire global organization that manufactures this. I think that was a huge learning experience for me for today, building me as the leader I am. I think for the first couple of weeks, there was a lot of pushback, right? Because of both of these reasons. Also, culturally, think of a person sitting in a South America versus a US versus an Egypt or a China. That itself was an
that is another additional
complexity,
layer of challenge.
right? But I think what really helped me that time was one, my manager again, he was, so Rahul Kohli was my manager at that point of time. He really helped me to ensure that I was always on a strong footing from saying that, Dekho, I'm not here to take away your job. I bring something else to the table and let me do my job and collaborate with me to do it so that Birla Carbon is successful. And I think getting that into every conversation, that the intent of what I'm doing is very different from what you think I'm doing, that really helped me. So finally, one is intent, communication, and ensuring you deliver that impact, right? When everyone is able to see that, chalo, for the organization, tumne kuch sahi kiya hai, at the end of it, when you reevaluate it, you're like, haan, theek hai, chalo, what I did was right, and maybe I made it easier for someone else who came later. But right in my start of my career, I think I was again very, very blessed to have two great female managers, one after another, who really mentored me, showed me exactly what are those decisions that you need to make. And it's okay to have to make certain compromises at certain points of time in life from a decision making, saying, a lot of times the kind of work you get handed out is, ठीक है, ये 7 बजे के बाद शायद रुकेगी नहीं because, she's married.
Yes,
So, but I can give a guy the same work because he can set an office at 11. And at that point of time, my manager sometimes asks me, तुमसे चाहिए क्या वो काम? Like, one is, what is that going to add to your career? Think about it first, right? So one is you just don't, this imposter syndrome, right, that we talk about is real. If you actually separate it from what actually delivers impact, it really helps. So that I think was a huge career guidance that I got, that index on what is going to help you build your career, index on what is going to help you learn. All the rest of it around it is a part of the stigma and the social, scenario that exists today. And it's people like us who are going to then, build around it, break some of these stereotypes and go make it better for other people. So some of it is in your mind, some of it you can still work on. But I think having a great ecosystem around you of people with support, be it your peers, be it people in your team, be it people in your managers, people who have your back, And finding those right people is extremely critical, and I think that's really helped me in my journey.
You both are into leadership roles now where you can actually drive change, bring about a change. So would love to learn about some actions, some priorities that you all are pursuing. Smita.
First of all, everybody needs to understand and acknowledge that there are unconscious bias. The thing is, you go into denial, that these
नहीं
things,
है,
no,
ऐसा नहीं
I am
होता
a very
है.
good manager, I don't have that partiality. So first step is, acknowledge,
Acceptance.
accept that there are unconscious biases, and doesn't matter what your gender is, everybody has those biases. Then talk about them, discuss about them, learn about them, and think about how we can get rid of or at least try to overcome some of those unconscious biases. Then another, a buzzword or keyword nowadays is diversity, inclusivity and equality, DEI. So I've been part of all of this since many years. I was a chairperson. Now again, this is a gender neutral term, that you are a chairperson, not a chairwoman or a chairman.
Yes.
So this is where, consciously you are
Yes,
taking a step in that direction of Internal Complaints Committee.
Right.
Internal Complaints Committee is a mandate
Absolutely,
from government.
government.
You see real life examples, where these things are happening. Or this is not just in movies, in real life there are situations like this wherein it is very difficult to come up and talk about it or complain about it.
Yes.
Because everywhere there is always the fear of retaliation.
Absolutely.
What will happen if I do this?
Absolutely.
Okay. Being a female leader, I try to have more diversity, inclusivity in my team. As
Right.
I said, I have most number of female
Engineers now.
engineers
That's
in
great.
my team.
Mrunmayi.
Yeah, so diversity and inclusion is something that a lot of people are talking about right now. I also did work very, very actively on the diversity and inclusion agenda and the charter at Aditya Birla Fashion and Retail, which was when I was part of the Aditya Birla group. I actually found it extremely enriching. While we talk about D&I more from a inclusivity and a policy perspective, and it's the right thing to do, it's actually something that organizations should do because it just builds much better valued output, right? And that's something that we today cannot in a metric define, ki if I have X number of women, my output will be this much better. But the kind of skill sets that they bring to the table from a diverse opinion, from a different multitasking ability, think about me, right? Like I'm in a grocery background. Most of my customers are women. If I don't have women in my team,
Yeah.
what I'm probably going to put on the app is
How do
not
you
going to be
empathize
relevant.
properly? Absolutely.
So, you really have to go back and think of it that way versus just saying, this is something कि अभी ना ये quota है, 20% women. It's not that.
It's not that.
It's just a way of enforcing to do the right thing to get to that output. And I think that is why this agenda is extremely close to my heart. When I moved on from Aditya Birla Group and I joined Dunzo, we were also in that place where a lot of startups during the pandemic grew like 4 or 5x in scale, but culture and people did not. So actually evolving policies, creating a Women at Dunzo as a committee, policies around maternity leave, paternity leave, the ability for women to take period leave, having referral bonuses which were higher for women hires, all of that is something we brought into play. It's really, really helped us. Also, as a committee, we decided that we really work with a lot of people who are on the ground, right? So while all of us have this conversation sitting here, well dressed and in a great place, I also think I'm entitled and I'm not ashamed of saying it. There are people who do not probably have the same facility or the access that I have. And to be able to provide them that in order for them to grow is equally important. And that's where we took up the entire initiative of creating a partner workforce and ensuring at least 15 to 20% of our workforce in some of our cities, delivery partners, Dunzo delivery partners are actually women.
Wow.
We support them through education for their children, with insurance, all of that. A few of our stores in Pune actually, we call them our pink stores. These are stores that are run completely by women. The only 2 or 3 male employees in those stores actually help lift up the 10 kg and 5 kg rice and atta bags, like literally.
Yeah.
Everything else, your order is picked, shipped, packed, delivered, everything
by
by a
women.
woman,
Wow.
right? So I think doing that is something that really is fulfilling, like apart from everything else that you do.
Great work, great work. Now there are so many young girls who are joining the work, either a shop floor, a retail store, IT company. What would be your advice to them? Mrunmayi, we'll start with you.
Sure. That's a hard one, but I hope can inspire a few people. I think some of these we alluded to earlier. But the most important thing is that as a young woman who is joining the corporate industry, in whichever space you are, first of all, it's okay to be scared. A lot of, it's okay. It's normal. First of all, you know, you should accept that. You should be extremely self-aware of what is it that you bring to the table and what are you there to learn. And I think I talked a little bit about that and how using that and communicating to your stakeholders is extremely key, extremely important. It is important that you ask your right questions, you do the right thing, but you ensure you keep asking the right questions all the time for what you are there to achieve, right? So there's no bias, there is nothing, no malice in it, but you are trying to index for the right thing. So be extremely clear on that. Ask questions. You know, these days people join online. You don't meet people in your team for a year. And you sometimes feel there's a Zoom call with 30 people. अभी थोड़ी ना मैं unmute पे जाके कुछ पूछ सकती हूँ. I'm like the most, you know, junior person who's joined. क्या सोचेंगे लोग? अरे कुछ नहीं सोचेंगे. तुम you don't give that much importance. Why are you there? Think about that. Go on unmute and ask that question. It's fine. It's appreciated more often than not than we realize. Right? And the last thing is be extremely thick-skinned. If you want to grow, you have to be okay. And it's not only professional, by the way. I think overage people realize that even personally, if you want to be successful, it's extremely important to be thick-skinned. And that's been my success mantra. And I hope it works for others too.
Thank you, Mrunmayi. Smita, your advice for
So
these young
first of all, I
girls.
completely agree with Mrunmayi on this. My thought process here is you get into an engineering college to become an engineer. Okay. So think about that. You are not a woman, you are not a man, you are going to be an engineer. When you come out of the college or any institute, when you are entering into a professional environment, this is the base which is already set for you because you have done engineering. Take this as your basic skill, build on that. Second thing is nobody is a superman, nobody is a superwoman.
Absolutely.
So ask for help. Okay,
Yes.
speak out, ask for help. Don't try to do everything yourself. That's not going to work. It is going to stress you out, and it is going to affect your family life as well as your work.
That's a great point, Smita. My wife, who is also working, has this huge guilt.
Correct.
That when she's working, she's compromising on children or on family, and when she's with family, she's compromising on work.
Correct.
But to stay guilt-free, you have to also ask for help.
Correct.
And build a support system around you which will enable you to do everything properly.
Correct.
Great
And
point.
not just at house, workplace also. As she said, speak up.
Yes.
If you have a problem, speak up. There are people who will help you. There are things which can be sorted out.
In a professional role, what are the strengths of a woman?
If I had to name a few and not be politically incorrect about it, because I wouldn't want to generalize it, but if you just think about, if you had to compare if a woman and a male person have exactly the same skills, functional skill set, what is it additional that a woman would bring to a table? I have actually seen a couple of things. One, very strong multitasking skills. I think it comes naturally because of the number of different roles and responsibilities that you're juggling, and like you mentioned before, the guilt between giving up this versus that and being able to manage that really well. So I think multitasking, be it even on multifunctional, cross-functional work streams, that is something I've seen really come out more in women. Not that men can't do it. The other one is actually cross-functional and stakeholder collaboration and alignment. Right. So I think doing these two very critical roles that women bring to the table from a skill set I have seen extremely important. And the third I think is more natural, which is empathy. But especially recently, I think we've seen a lot of men also bringing very similar empathy into their decision making, into the way they handle their teams. But naturally, I think if you had to figure out percentages just from the base of women also being smaller in every organization,
Beautiful
I would
points.
think these three would be the key ones.
Yes, Smita.
So yeah, perfectly right, Mrunmayi. I will add couple of more. One is resilience.
Right.
When you are facing a crisis at your workplace, women are more resilient. And I think other thing is people management and time management.
Right.
Similar to multitasking abilities.
Right.
Women are little better than managing people and managing time for a project because I think it comes naturally to her.
The tenets, facets that you have mentioned, they all resemble a good manager. And if I am sure men follow them, then there would be a lot of equality, and women would not always stand out with these tenets.
That is true.
Just carrying it on, would love to learn or know about some of the people who have inspired you or have mentored you.
Sure, definitely. First and foremost is my husband, Rishikesh. Always very supportive, always very open to any new idea. So I would definitely say him being the first one on my list. Then there are many actually, lots of men, because primarily my managers or my mentors were men. But one person really stands out. She is our VP. She is based out of Israel. Her name is Hila. I have not seen anybody stronger and most fit for the work than Hila. And she is very sorted. So I learn a lot of things, you know, how to face questions, how to be firm on your ground, you know. If you believe in something, just stand with that and don't let anybody else bully you out of that. She has been great mentor to me since many years now.
Awesome.
Mrunmayi?
Yeah, so I also have a fairly long list of people who have influenced me in one way or another, either mentors or people I look up to. My parents are obviously the first, largely also because when I, you know, in the start I mentioned that I over-index on learning. It comes to me from them. Like at the age of 65 and 70 today, they are trekking around the world and you know, learning music, giving exams. Like I can't even imagine doing some of those things. And I think somewhere that is something that really inspires me. Obviously, my husband, and I think he's extremely balanced. From a career perspective, there are two people who have really made a lot of difference in my in the way I look at my career and how I make my priority decisions on how I want to move, what I want to do. Richa Chaube Pai being one, and Manika Mittal. Both of them are very strong leaders at both Aditya Birla Fashion and Retail and Myntra, heading very strong businesses. They're business heads, and I think still today they are like my sounding boards whenever I need any advice. I seriously have this fangirl moment when I met Indira Nooyi. She is my, you know, like clearly fangirl moment. You can see me like happy when I'm talking about it. And I think she's someone who really inspires me. The amount of struggles she's had and the facets of life that she's explored on the way, I think, yeah.
Wow. She is truly an inspiration for all of us.
Truly is. And I was so happy when I met her. I can't tell you how much.
Nice. Let's go back to where it all began. Your VIT Pune days.
Oh, I have some fantastic memories here. Apart from, you know, studying for engineering, I did 4 years. You know, I was part of Firodia team.
Wow.
Every year I participated,
Wow.
sometimes on stage, sometimes backstage.
Backstage.
And that bond is still there. We as a, you know, Firodia team, we are like family. My father is an engineer. He was a professor in COEP, electronics department. Some of his teachers were, you know, teaching here in VIT. I was so fortunate to have Mahajan sir, Renavikar sir as my, you know, teachers and mentors. But the disadvantage to that was these people know you personally. You cannot bunk classes. Khadilkar sir at that time was our principal. After 2 years, I think Abhyankar sir was our principal. So I have been very fortunate to have these two, you know, great people who were our mentors.
Wow.
Awesome.
Mrunmayi, over to you.
Yeah, I have very similar memories. I mean, very fond memories. More of my memories are outside class. Because I was very similar, right? Like, I actually set up the first tech fest and the cultural fest within VIT that was there. Vitality and Epiphany both started in 2006 and 7.
Wow. They're still running, huh?
They are?
Yes.
Wow. So that was like amazing times. I think where I am today and where I really, you know, figured out this bhook keeda of managing teams, people, working with a lot of people. I don't think I can do IC roles is something I realized back then. And it really helped me explore so many different facets of my personality. What is it that I really love doing? And I tried my hand at everything. I was part of the social committee also. We were working on some flood relief campaigns in Maharashtra that time. And we actually traveled to some of these rural parts of Maharashtra with a lot of other Pune colleges. That time Khare sir, Moolchandani ma'am was there. Both of them were very helpful in helping me settle down. Because at that point of time, I had also moved from Africa. I didn't know too much Marathi. I was trying to settle down कि यहाँ पे मतलब इंडिया में चलता कैसे है, like what is happening in the middle of all that. I'm trying to find my footing. I think great memories.
Tell us something about your families. Mrunmayi first.
Sure. So I've been living in Mumbai for the last 10 years with my husband, and it's the two of us. Obviously, we met when we were in Pune. We were both preparing for our MBA. He went on to IIM Calcutta at the same time that I went on to IIM Ahmedabad, did like 2 years of that, and then immediately right after that, like we didn't spend time. 1 month mein we got married. And rest of my family is still based in Pune. My mom has always been a teacher, a vice principal in the education side of things. My dad also engineer, MBA from Jamnalal Bajaj. So exactly like, you know, somewhere in my mind I started off, I think, following his track for the lack of one at that point of time not even knowing what to do. now enjoying it. And I have a sister and my brother-in-law both have a dental clinic in Kalyani Nagar. So most of my family still stays out of Pune. We are extremely closely knit. Do like trips together once in a quarter. Try and spend as much time as possible. Yeah.
So nice. Smita?
Okay, so I will call my family as engineering family.
Okay.
There are 7 engineers in my family.
Okay.
Both my father and my father-in-law were professors in Government College of Engineering first and then private colleges. And my husband is an engineer, my brother is an engineer, my nephew is an engineer in final year.
So many engineers around.
So we are 7 engineers. Luckily or maybe not so luckily, my son who is doing 3rd year at IIT Bombay, IIT Powai, he chose to go into mathematics, core mathematics.
Nice.
He is very good at that. I can proudly say that. I have a daughter. She is in 10th standard.
Amazing.
She wants to become a pilot in Air Force, fighter pilot. I don't know how it will shape out, but this is her dream, and we are being supportive, toward that dream so far.
What's her name?
Her name is Surabhi.
So Smita, what are the differences you see between Surbhi and yourself? Maybe imagine yourself of Surbhi's age, and what were you and what is Surbhi like?
Oh, actually, it's whole, 2 ends of the spectrum probably.
Okay.
She's very independent. She takes her own decisions. She stands with her own decisions. She knows, what she wants to do. At that age, I was so naive. I just used to follow whatever my parents used to say. That's how I became engineer. I got into Abhinav Architectural College after my 12th, passing all 3 levels.
Okay.
But my father said, no, you should be engineer. That's how I, became an engineer. But yeah, I mean, she is completely independent thinker.
Yeah.
And I think this generation, over generations, probably this change is going to happen.
So nice to hear about them. Apart from birth, what are your other passions, Smita?
It all started with Firodia again,
Okay.
bit of acting, bit of dancing, bit of backstage work. So I learned dance after I was 40.
Wow.
So I learned for about 5 to 6
Amazing.
years the Western dance, and it was great fun, and I really enjoyed doing that. Then the pandemic actually, I ventured into a different thing. I learned yoga abhyas. Right now I am into cycling. Bit of environment, bit of fun hobby. I'm part of a cycling group, and I've started cycling to work since past few months. This has been a great experience, cycling.
Wow, so nice, so nice. Mrunmayi?
Yeah, so I think my passions, dance was a common one. I actually learned dance right when I was a kid. I am trained in classical dance, and I have been dancing for, I think, all the years of my life. Okay. I can't think of any year that I did. Secondly, traveling is a huge passion. I want to travel to 40 countries before I'm 40, and that's something I have milestone for myself, because otherwise I was like, hoega nahi. I'm at 32 now. Football is another of my passions, purely because I grew up in Africa, where unlike India, where people play cricket, kuch nahi to cricket khelte hain, wahan pe football khelte hain. And that's how I learned. I actually learned at the age of 8 what an offside looks like and how to detect one and stuff like that. I still have all my weekends, I either way planned around football matches. Yeah, I think these 3 things really is what keeps me going, keeps the energy high.
Wow. Thank you, Smita. Thank you, Mrunmayi. It was wonderful having both of you on my show on this episode. I am sure a lot of girls studying that Vishwakarma, studying the outside, would have a lot of inspiration from your stories and would learn from you. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Bharat.